I'm Lizzie Harrison for Card Player TV, and you may recognize the man to my left, David Singer. He's been here before. He just won the championship on Full Tilt, the Heads Up event. But more recently than that, he won his first World Series of Poker Bracelet Pot Limit Hold'em tournament. Congratulations, David.
Thank you.
That was quite the intro, right?
It was. I almost brought it with me today, too. I wish I brought it with me, the bracelet.
The bracelet? So what was it like to just win your first bracelet? I mean, you've had so much success, but the bracelet's something special.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Everybody wants to win a World Series tournament. You know, it's kind of like being in the sports world when you win the Stanley Cup or a Super Bowl or something like that. I mean, the best players win, like, they've got 10 or 11 bracelets, and it's sort of the same thing in sports. Great players around for a long time might get really lucky. The all-time greats might win 10 World Series or something like that.
Absolutely. Before we get into the details of the tournament, I want to congratulate you on the birth of your second son. He was born right after you won your bracelet, right?
Yeah, that made it really exciting. Put things in perspective. Obviously, it's much more important than a bracelet. Yeah. 3 hours afterwards, my fiancée went into labor, and the next day he was born. So it was a pretty cool couple of days there.
Definitely. Well, I heard you said that if you were playing heads up for the bracelet and she went into labor, you would have gotten up. Is that true?
That is true, yeah.
You would have walked away from the table.
For sure. Nolan Dalla, the media supervisor or whatever for the World Series, when he heard that, before we started playing, he said he was rooting for me to get the chip lead. And then,
just in case she went into labor?
He was rooting for me to get the chip lead and then have to leave. He said it would be a good story. He said, I think he exaggerated. He said it would be a worldwide story.
It would have been quite the story.
I don't know. I wasn't really rooting for that to happen myself. He sounded like he thought I would get behind that, but I didn't think that would be too much fun.
Well, you're known a little bit as kind of a shy guy, and the final table that you won was the first non-ESPN televised final table. Did you plan it that way?
Well, I do have a better record in non-televised events, but I think it's just a coincidence. Or I'm not really that shy. It's just I've just found that I play better when I'm not talking. So I know I could do better, get more endorsements and stuff if on TV I was loud and joked around more, or maybe even acted silly, but it's just not my style. But when I'm away from the table, I don't take myself seriously at all. I just like to have fun.
Well, your style seems to be working for you at the table.
It's been working lately.
So you entered the final table of this event. You were pretty low on chips. I think you were the second short stack. How did you build your way up?
Well, it just worked out. I got the money in good twice, and first time I called a raise with ace-queen. I wouldn't always do that in the position I was, but the way the table was playing, I felt it was right, and I got queen came on the flop, and I got in against someone with tens or jacks.
Well, didn't he move all in against you? Were you sure that you were good in that spot? I thought that he had put you all in. You flopped the queen with the ace-queen, and then he put you all in.
I think he raised, and I...
Okay.
Either way, he was almost all in. He almost had put me all in.
Okay.
But
you were
with a hand like that, if you're going to call a raise before the flop,
that's what you're hoping for.
Yeah, you're hoping for that. I didn't have that many chips. I just have no choice. I have to go with the hand, you know.
And then right after that, your aces held up. That always feels nice.
Yeah. Luckily, I got who was it? Al Barbieri called in the big blind with.
I think king queen.
Weak hand, yeah, king queen.
He flopped a king.
And flopped a king, and then I got all in again on the flop. So, I mean, I guess he called the raise. I raised in pretty early position, but I guess he ended up punishing himself for calling with that hand.
Definitely. And your hands were holding up. Then you had pocket nines when you knocked out Joe Tihan, and that just held up, right? He had two overcards?
Yeah, he had 10 jack. I mean, he made I don't know, he's got to hope that he's in a race situation the way the hand played, and he was, but yeah, I won a few hands, and then things went well for me, and then I had a few chips to maneuver, and made a few moves here and there, and got heads up. And
how was Jacobo Fernandez as a heads-up opponent? It was quite the battle.
Well, I didn't know him. I thought he'd be pretty easy, but apparently he's a pretty well-respected Costa Rican player. I didn't know. I'd seen him play just the final table. I don't think I'd played with him even before that. And
he went deep in the LAPC, I think, last year.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I thought he'd be pretty easy. You know, I have a lot of faith in my no-limit game, just coming off winning that full tilt tournament.
Definitely.
And I won another heads-up tournament, and but he wasn't easy. I couldn't find any tells on him, really. I thought I had a tell or two on him, and then it turned out it wasn't right. And he was very tough. It took me a long time to beat him.
Well, there was a hand you played. I believe you had a king deuce, and the flop was something like queen seven deuce, two spades. You bet, he raised, you re-raised all in. Did you think? I mean, you did have the best hand there, but did you think you did, or did you think you were just going to get him off his hand? Because he made the call.
No, I thought I had the best hand. I didn't have that many chips at that point.
Okay.
And I had to go with it. Obviously, you don't like getting all in with a pair of deuces, but
held up.
In the situation that warranted doing that. I was pretty sure I had the best hand. But then when he called quickly, I thought maybe my read was off. But
he had, what, the 8-3 of spades, I think?
Yeah.
4 spades. And
yeah.
Luckily, you dodged all those outs and you doubled up.
Yeah.
So what are the main differences between pot limit and no limit? Everyone plays no limit these days. What are the subtleties?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a pot limit expert,
Well,
I'd rather play no limit. I would rather play no limit. The thing I don't like about pot limit is when you're out, say you're playing heads up out of position, your opponent limps. The most you can do is make it the bet 3 times the big blind.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of hands. Even if you have the best hand, I don't really like playing out of position in that situation. So I try and keep the pot really small when I'm out of position, which in general is a good rule anyway. And depending on the hand and when the table's full, a lot of hands play exactly the same as they would in no limit.
Starting hand requirements are similar?
For me, they are. I'm not sure how everybody else plays it, but mostly, yeah, same kind of starting hands.
What about the fact that there's no antes? How does that come into play?
Well, especially obviously if you're short stacked, you have more time. That makes a big difference. I consider playing a short stack a strong part of my game.
So how do you play a short stack in pot limit? You can just
you can have a lot more patience. Yeah, I think a lot of people make a mistake in no limit of not being patient enough.
Really?
In general, I'm just talking generalities,
I understand.
but yeah, in pot limit, obviously you can wait a lot longer and try and see what's going on, and see who's maybe raising light you want to get in against, and you don't have to panic as much for sure.
Definitely. So how do you judge your bet size in pot limit? Like, are you always looking to bet the pot if you have a strong hand, or how do you decide how much to bet?
There are a lot of people who do always bet the pot, but I'm not doing that. I'm kind of playing it like I would play no limit. Most of the hands, say in a full table, I'm betting about what I would bet in no limit, and I'm not worried about betting the pot unless maybe I'm out of position and I don't want to play a certain hand. Yeah, so I'm not thinking like that. And it's obviously good to watch and see who does always bet the pot and who's uncomfortable playing pot limit. But
did you notice that some of the players in the tournament were uncomfortable? They weren't really in their element?
Yeah, a few of the players. I kind of like it when people are betting the pot when I think maybe their hand doesn't warrant it. And if someone's always betting the pot, I think maybe I could take advantage of it in certain situations. They're over betting. Like in no limit, if someone was always betting the pot, in a lot of instances they're over betting.
True.
Like if someone raises 3.5 times the big blind in no limit, there are certain situations where I think it's a mistake. They're putting in too much money without such a strong hand. So, all those things you can sort of take advantage of in certain situations.
Well, let's talk about the last hand where you won your bracelet. You had a queen 4, Jacobo had a 7-3, and I'll let you tell it.
I won the hand for sure.
You won the hand for sure. You flopped an open-ended straight draw, and he turned 2 pair.
Yeah, I think I did a good job. I had raised before the flop. I was on the button, if I'm not mistaken. And,
you raised with queen 4?
I raised with the queen 4, yeah. Changed it. Heads up, like
absolutely.
certain times I'm going to raise with certain hands.
Especially on the button.
Yeah. So he flopped bottom pair, and I think I checked the flop behind him.
So you turned the straight?
And I turned the straight, and he turned 2 pair, and we got all the money in.
You think he could have gotten away from that hand?
It would have been tough. He was pretty. Most players probably would have called quicker than he called. I guess, he kind of had a feeling he was beat, but I guess he didn't have. He'd put in a fair amount of chips before I raised, and I guess he thought he might still be good also.
By that point, you've been playing heads up for almost 3 hours, right? Must have been getting tired.
Yeah, for a long time. He must have been getting tired?
Well, both of you must have been getting tired.
I don't know. I hope never to get tired in a situation like that.
You must have been nervous the baby was coming.
No, I wasn't nervous about the baby coming. Once I'm playing, I'm not thinking about that. I'm pretty good at blocking that sort of thing
Was she there watching?
Yeah, she was there watching the whole time, yeah.
That's awesome.
She went into labor about 3 hours afterwards.
Well, congratulations on your first bracelet and your 18th cash at the World Series of Poker.
Thank you.
Lizzie Harrison with David Singer for Card Player TV.